10 years ago today, Hurricane Katrina became a named storm in the Atlantic Ocean. The fifth hurricane of the 2005 season, Katrina made landfall in the Bahamas, Cuba, and then South Florida. From there, it went back into the Gulf and intensified into a monster Category 5 storm. Katrina eventually slammed into Mississippi and Louisiana as a Cat 3. Yeah, the damage estimated at $108 billion. Even worse than that, though. Katrina claimed more than 1,800 lives.
An amazingly strong, powerful, and just debilitating storm. A lot of folks remember the devastation in New Orleans, but it was also bad across the Mississippi coast. That's where ABC Action News was. That's where I was, witnessing a great amount of suffering, but also great hope.
In the midst of the casinos between the Gulf and the Back Bay of Biloxi lies a neighborhood in ruins. Houses floated from their foundation by a 15-foot storm surge that has now finally receded, leaving devastating destruction, death, and dejection.
Our house is nothing. It's just like no house was never there.
Her name is, ironically enough, Katrina.
All this is storm surge.
Yeah, when I was sitting up there watching it, the water was rising, and the water got up to probably about this high off the ground, and it's all debris and rooftops floating, and you would see the waves come in. All the debris would start going up like this when the waves would start coming.
Yes, he rode out the storm in this 140-year-old wood frame home until things got too scary. As he picked through the place for a handful of cherished tchotchkes and a picture of his daughter, he took me to the attic level where he hid out, right next door to his tossed-over boat when the storm was at its worst.
Yeah, I was up there in the attic, I guess probably about 4 or 5 hours for the bulk of the storm. And then when things started to calm down a little bit, then I made my way back out. And it gets a little harrowing after a while, wondering what's going to go.
I would think so.
The situation in Harrison County is hardly hospitable, but those who've traveled here from Florida know they're not here on vacation.
Because, you know, once you factor in the heat and the smells and just the aggravation you see on people's faces, it's amazing.
Amazing that in the face of such strife, there are victims giving thanks.
Pray to the Lord. Thank God that what we do have, we still have. Maybe it's just our lives, but it's a lot.
Authorities hope that the dire dilemma in New Orleans doesn't overshadow the situation here, because while this help has begun, the need, like this line, has no end in sight.
It's amazing doing the job as long as we've been doing it now. Some things just become etched in your mind.
Yeah.
And obviously that's one of them with you. Yeah.
You know, it's funny, we were at a wedding last night with TV's Don Gramage. You may remember him from Hunker Down fame. And everybody was saying, you know what we were doing 10 years ago? And those were actual elements of the stories that we were covering on those days. To look around, the gentleman there mentioned it, who had come in as part of the rescue team from Florida. The smell, just the overwhelming magnitude, enormity of the damage was just almost debilitating. And you know, you couldn't imagine just how bad it was unless you were there.
And it serves as a reminder for all of us. All it takes is one storm. Yep. That's it, just one storm.
And the thing is, a lot of people along that coast, from Mississippi all the way over to Louisiana, were saying, "Oh, you know, it's down to a Category 3 now. We'll be fine."
Right.
Just, you know, it was a Cat
3 is nothing to mess with.
No.